Social Animal was $99. It's now completely free. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy of it, simply visit callmecare.com/social. But for now, please enjoy this video.
The harsh truth is that there's almost no differentiation in the training world. We all sell pretty much the same stuff. Our clients do pretty much all the same thing. So why is it that some coaches and some businesses are so much more successful than others? The answer is brand. Brand is the premium that people pay to do business with you versus your competitors. And it's also one of the most effective ways to charge more money, generate high profits, and reinvest into and grow your online coaching business more quickly. So today we're going to look at just how powerful a brand can be in both the training and non-training worlds, along with my thoughts on what you can do to more effectively build your own brand as an online coach. Let's begin. So I should say that the easiest way to win at business is to just be better. If you can clearly distance yourself from the pack along some aspect that your customer base values, the market's going to gravitate towards you and you win the game. Notable examples from history include Facebook. Facebook is twice as large as the next best social network. The next three biggest networks are YouTube, which is not really a social media platform, Instagram and WhatsApp. They're both owned by Facebook. So the next real competitor is TikTok, which has 1.7 billion users. At the time of this video, Facebook has over 3 billion users. And because the number of connections within a network is exponential, it actually has triple the number of connections relative to TikTok. So Facebook won because their massive network made it really easy to quickly reach the biggest proportion of your personal network. And they made it so painful to switch to a smaller network with less ability to connect to other people. Another example is PayPal. Before PayPal, the conventional way to pay on eBay was via a physical check. You won the auction, then you physically had to write or cut a check to mail to the seller. And after 3 to 5 business days, when that check eventually cleared, the seller would put the item in the mail and then send it on to the buyer. After PayPal, payment could be sent instantly without a trip to the bank or to the post office. The payment cleared in 1 to 2 days, and then the item was sent. So if you factor in the saved personal time of not having to cut a check or go to the post office, PayPal was the fastest option by at least a factor of 2. Another example is Netflix. Before Netflix, if you wanted to watch a specific movie, you had to get in the car, travel to Blockbuster, hope they have that title in stock, and take it home and watch it. And then of course, when you were done, you had to travel back to the store and hope that you'd returned it in time to not get fined. Now, Netflix eventually took everything bad about that Blockbuster model and they threw it out of the window. No physical DVDs, no travel, exponentially bigger selection, endless stock because it's digital, and no late fees. So they existed in a completely different universe to Blockbuster and did for some time before other streaming platforms tried to catch up with them. And stories like these are very common in the technology world. But does this principle apply across all different business models? Does Red Bull get you twice as amped as Monster or Bang energy drinks? No. Is Nike twice as comfortable or twice as conducive to high performance than Adidas, for example? As much as they'd like to tell you that that's the case, the answer is of course no. So when businesses are objectively quite similar to their competitors, why is it that some businesses are able to dominate the market compared to others? Well, if it isn't objective reasons, by process of elimination, it must be subjective reasons. It's about how you make customers feel about themselves and about your business. In a word, it's the brand. Scott Galloway defines brand as the premium that customers will pay to do business with you versus a competitor of a similar level. What does a strong brand mean for you and your online coaching business? In short, you get to charge more for the same thing. Here's an example from the real world. Ferrari is considered to be one of the strongest and most recognizable car brands in history. They make an average profit margin of 27% on each of their cars, compared to an industry average of just 10%. And they're not getting there through famed Italian efficiency and cost cutting. They just charge a lot more than everyone else. An average car in the USA right now costs about $48,000. The cheapest Ferrari is $250,000, and the average model retails for $440,000. The end result is that Ferrari get to take a lot more profit out of their business and reinvest a lot more compared to other car companies of a similar size. And that means a more secure position for them and a faster rate of improvement and innovation. Another example is Gucci. Gucci makes a margin of 30 to 35% on their stuff relative to an industry norm of 10% within fashion. And of course, their stuff is a lot more expensive, so in gross terms, they're making a lot more profit per unit than everyone else. All of this despite having access to the same raw materials, the same talent, and the same resources as everyone else. Another example still, Apple. Net margin of 15% versus 3.5% for Dell, despite having all the overhead and inertia that comes from being one of the largest companies in the world. And it's not just limited to consumer goods. Between buying the company in 1972 and 34 years later in 2006, Warren Buffett had increased the price of See's candy per pound by 600%. Ask yourself, did the candy get 600% better in that time? The answer, of course, is no. It's exactly the same as it was in 1972. So how was he able to do that? He knew that people loved See's candy so much that they would pay those prices without it affecting the total volume of candy sold. So why is it that these companies are able to charge seemingly exploitative prices to their customers, when those same customers could just go across the street and get pretty much exactly the same thing for a fraction of the cost from their competitors? And the answer is brand. People love these companies and their brands. They love what they represent. People love a rebel who strikes out to do things differently and goes against the grain. And that's why people line up around the block for the newest MacBook. But you'd have to pay most people to be seen to be using a Dell laptop at a coffee shop. It's because the feeling that these respective brands evoke are just so different. People love the stories that these companies represent. People buy Tesla because they love the story of them being a part of saving the environment. Other people buy Aston Martin because that's what James Bond drove and they want to feel like James Bond. People wear Nike because of Lance Armstrong's story of resilience and they want to emulate those characteristics in their own lives. Lastly, people love these companies because of how it makes them feel about themselves, both internally and in terms of how they think other people would perceive them. When men buy a Rolex, it's because they want to feel like they've made it and because they think it will make women want to sleep with them. Because as a society, we've attached the values of luxury and status towards the Rolex brand and not other watches that might be just as good quality but cost exactly the same to make. So you might be wondering, well, I'm a strength coach. What does this have to do with me? Well, I'm going to tell you. Ask yourself, are you a Facebook? Are you a PayPal? Are you a Netflix? Do your clients gain muscle or lose fat at 2, 3, or 4 times the rate of your competitors? Are you doubling speed, strength, and power gains relative to the other people your customers could be doing business with? And if you're honest with yourself, the answer is absolutely not. We're all just competing for fractions of a percent here and there. A little bit bigger, a little bit leaner, a little bit fitter, a little bit more robust to injury. I'm not saying that we can't or shouldn't be trying to work to be better than the competition, but let's not kid ourselves that we're going to be so much better that a layperson could tell the difference and we're going to be an order of magnitude better. So to revisit, if we can't differentiate our businesses via objective means, the only recourse we have left is to do so via subjective means, brand. We need to build a business that people love to do business with and that tells a powerful story to people about themselves and others. What does this mean for you and your business? Firstly, if emotion is going to be the thing that makes them pick you over another trainer or business and not the program, you need to put emotion front and center of what you do. When you communicate with your audience, appeal to emotion rather than logic. Logic will eventually factor into their decision to buy and stay, but it's going to be way further down the line, and generally, logic is used to justify an emotional decision that they've already made in their head. Likewise, emotion is going to be the thing that keeps them there once they've signed up to train with you. So lean on emotion again. Create an experience that evokes a strong emotional response, because when people love your service, they spend more money. Duh. Second, as humans, we're hardwired to consume and respond emotionally to stories. If you want to evoke strong emotions, you need to learn how to become a good storyteller. Burn the hero's journey structure of storytelling into your brain. Act 1, set the stage. Act 2, encounter a challenge or enemy. Act 3, learn from a teacher to defeat the enemy or overcome the challenge. Act 4, transform into the hero and beat the enemy or challenge the next time you're presented with the opportunity to do so. And Act 5, return to the real world, a changed person. Why is this storytelling structure so useful? Well, it's because everyone is a hero of their own journey, and everyone is aspiring to become an enhanced future version of themselves. So are you. You're just further ahead in your own hero's journey than they are. In fact, you're the teacher in their third act. Tell a compelling story to build a sense of shared experience and identity, and to show that you can help light the way for your customers, for them to realize the future version of themselves that they aspire to be. Third, you need to stand for something and/or stand against something. There's nothing in the middle of the road but dead possums and yellow lines. By being middle of the road, you won't offend anyone, but you also won't attract a crowd that really wants to spend a lot of money with you and stay for a long time. It's better to attract a few raving fans than hordes of people who are totally indifferent to you. Those dedicated few who think, this guy gets me, he understands me and my problems, he's talking to me, he understands how to work with people like me. They're the ones who stay a long time, act like evangelists for your business, and refer their friends. And that to me is worth pissing off a few people to get to. In parallel to this, pick a niche. The market values more highly people who are known for being truly elite at one thing than great generalists. Arguably, a good generalist has a more well-rounded and adaptable skill set than a specialist, but it's much harder to brand. I can name several guys right now just in the world of fitness. The glute guy, the shoulder guy, the knee pain guy, the fascia guy, the crazy lifting tricks guy, the bloat guy, the list goes on. They have big followings and presumably they have the revenue to match. Now, if I was to ask you to name a great generalist in the online fitness space that has a similarly large following and similar revenue numbers, could you do that? Even if you can, I bet it takes you a lot longer to pull that name out of the air and think of the person. Why is this? Let's ask ourselves a question. If you have knee pain, who are you more likely to think of and do business with when you're looking for a solution to that pain? The knee pain guy or the guy that does everything? You know the answer, and the reason is brand. Finally, build community. The worst thing about selling training information and services online is that all programs eventually stop working. Even if you're constantly updating and adapting programs, over time, all results trend towards zero. Otherwise, we'd all be benching 600 pounds and deadlifting 1,000 pounds. Clearly then, if customers are staying for years on end without canceling, they're likely staying long after the results have leveled off, so they're staying for emotional reasons. That might entail a strong emotional connection to you, but in my opinion and experience, it's much easier and more scalable to outsource that emotional connection to your training group. Why is it that CrossFit has such a good business model? Is it because the training's so good? Of course not. It's because they're the Scientologists of exercise and nobody wants to let down the group. And if you leave and you're not with them, then you're against them. It's tricky to build community into online training, but I would advise you to try to add in a group element to what you're doing. Facebook groups, Discords, and so on. If they aren't starting conversations and engaging with one another, you should make time to lead it and help them have those conversations. Think of yourself as like the host at a dinner party. You want to own the house where everyone is always glad they came to dinner. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you've enjoyed it, let the algorithm know by giving it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel so that you get notified whenever we release a new video. Are there any other topics related to the business of online coaching that you'd like to see covered? If so, leave a comment below to let us know, and I'll be happy to cover that in future videos. Thanks.
Thank you very much for watching that video. Daddy loves subscribers, so click here to subscribe. If you'd like to watch another video, you can do that by clicking here. See you soon.